Hi guys, and welcome back to PJ Maybe. Today we have with us Alan and Ed from Sentinel Comics, and
Hello.
This is the one we're mainly discussing. Although it's not my favourite one, it is one of the definitely I like Doyle and Shorty from it. We're going to discuss that, and we're going to discuss the Sentinel Comics because you're up to issue 9, 10?
9 at the
9.
moment.
Yeah, and still going well.
It's doing very well now, Peter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying to Alan. I've got a couple more to get, so I'm going to wait until it comes up to 10, then I can get. I've got 7, 8, 9, and 10. I can get them. I'm a hard copy boy. Alan sent me the digital copy, which is really good, but I like the hard copies. I'm getting old.
No, I prefer the physical copy as well.
Yeah.
Old school.
Definitely. That's why I've got my DVD collection taking up most of my shelves nowadays. I do like my physical copies of stuff. I'll just class it as classic. I'm not going to say I'm old because I'm not old. I'm classic. I'm just double checking my sister. We're actually live and we're actually out there. And hi Darren, hi Windology, and hi Lord Nyman, and thanks for joining us. So guys, tell us about how you got started with Sentinel.
Okay,
Ed can do this one.
Right. So I was up in Belfast a few years back, and I spotted a fanzine called Sector 13, and it was a 2000 AD based fanzine. So I looked through it, liked what was in it, and got in contact with the editor, Peter Duncan. Sent him a few samples of my work, and he asked for some sequential artwork. So I said, look, I can't think of anything at the moment. Maybe you could suggest something. So he said, well, why not do something like the Gronk, which was one of my favorite characters in 2000 AD. So I suggested to him, well, look, if you can get a writer that can write me, say, a 3 or 4 page strip based on the Gronk, then I'll give it a go. So that's how Peter got in touch with Alan. And Alan wrote a Gronk strip for me, and that's how it began.
Yeah, I'd been writing a few things for Zarjaz and Dog Breath, and Peter had come to me to ask me if I'd write a strip for Sector 13, and I did a judge's story about Scottish judges and Irish, because it's an Irish fanzine, and an Irish judge is assigned bodyguard, a comedian that does nothing but Irish jokes, and sort of a joke. And so it ends up that he's replaced by a Scottish judge, and the guy switches to Scottish jokes instead. So just silly stuff. It's quite fun.
A Calmac judge got in the act.
So I did
I love the Calmac judges.
But they said, would you like to write a Gronk story for this artist? And I thought, anything if people ask me, especially if it's 2000 AD related. And they suggested a spaceship crashes on Blas, which is where they live, and something like that. So basically I did it so it's like a history lesson where a large part of the planet is uninhabitable, and they're telling the story of a spaceship crash, and the Gronk went feral and mad and started killing all the other Gronks.
Yep.
And so this one special Gronk was sent to Gronk Rambo. He's got a skull and crossbones in his fur. He gets the old personnel things, and they say fronts towards enemies on because it's a Gronk. And he basically goes and blows up ships' reactor core, which atomizes sort of a large portion of the planet surface. And as a result, that's where it comes from. And Ed started sending me artwork, and I really, really liked it. And so we almost immediately wanted to do another one. So we did a second Gronk strip set during the story where the guy is hunting Gronks for food. But there's another, that's set during that time. And we just sort of carried on working together because it's ridiculously fast, which is great because I don't have to hang around for the artwork. And he just gets how I write as well. I don't have to put too much detailing because I know he'll fit it in and he'll do a better job than whatever's in my mind. Mic's off, PJ.
Sorry about that. My dogs had been barking in the background. I didn't want them to interrupt you, so I forgot I switched it off. But that's pre Wolfstein and Johnny Alpha with the gonk.
Yeah.
Gronk.
Well, the first one, the sort of bookend was that he was being told by Johnny in a classroom for young Gronks, though they weren't actually in it as such. They sort of appear, but not as part of the story. Although I've done a couple of Strontium dog ones for Dog Breath before, and
I see. I love Johnny Alpha as well. I love Johnny as well. So I'm a big 2000 AD fan. So, and I knew when you said it was Sector 13, it had to be a 2000 AD fan, because that's obviously Sector 13 is one of the judges. There's a story, Sector 13.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
The Haunted House.
See again?
Is that The Haunting of Sector 13, Brett Ewins?
It was either that one, because they also did one. It was about the. Oh, very nice. Hold on, I'll give you the big screen there. I'm trying to remember how to actually give access to.
There he is, Rambo Gronk.
Yeah.
I never gave him a name.
Solo layout. There it's there. See, that is just superb. I've been trying to get a Gronk toy for my collection.
I have one.
It's got one.
I have seen a couple of the pictures of them out there, but they're homemade ones, and I would love to get something along with my Johnny Alpha, because I've still got him packaged. But that is just superb. The artwork in that, I must admit, yes, definitely. Going through the ones that I've got, and the one I read, I must admit, I loved that one.
Oh.
I love the colour.
There you go. Old school.
Just superb. Yeah, just superb. The artwork in that was just amazing, and obviously that's some of the alternate covers at the back. And I did like the good old Wraith. It's a hero's journey, shall we say?
I think you should explain that one, Ed.
Yeah, that particular strip, PJ, that was done in 2004. I showed the original comic. Basically, it was a self-published comic that I got done. That was the original cover. And as you can see, the reproduction wasn't the greatest. It was very washed out.
I'm going to give you the solo screen again, just so we can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the original A4 publication that came out in 2004. As you can see, it was hand lettered. It was actually written by myself and Chris Atkins at the time. Yeah. But as you can see, it is just the printing was terrible.
Yeah, you did mention that at the beginning of this, just basically in the blurb.
Yeah.
I put it back on, so when I put it up, people will actually see what I'm talking about. You've got it in the blurb at the top about your description of how you re-rendered it, shall we say?
Yeah, I suggested to Alan, and he revamped it to fit into the Sentinel format. And I'm delighted the way it turned out. The colors are so much vibrant, just amazing after all these years.
Yeah.
I had to go through it and I through it and basically say, okay, on page 1 we'll have panel 1 and 2, or page 3 panel 6 and 7, and then he'd resize them and mess around with them. Yeah. But I also had to rewrite some of the story as well.
Yeah, I did like that one because I like my D&D, and I thought that could be quite a fun wee campaign. I mean, it could actually lead into a campaign. Somebody could write a campaign around that to add in. Just it's fairly straightforward. Wraiths are attacking a village. A hero has to come in and save them, and still bits and pieces can be evolved around it. So when I was reading it, I was thinking, that could be a nice wee campaign somebody would do. Need to speak to my group.
I used to collect the fighting fantasy novels back in the day, PJ. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's what was
on the page to find out what's going to happen next. You know.
Yeah, I do remember them, but when I was reading into it, I was actually telling Alan, Star Blazer, yeah, because he had mentioned that was something he enjoyed.
Yeah,
I've not got many of them. I've been trying to get them. See, I'm not one that will go and buy them from thing made unless I really need to. I'm a collector. I like the hunt. These 4 I managed to pick up in a charity shop, so I love my charity shops for that. And so I'm always on the lookout for Star Blazers because I love, as Alan had said when he was talking about that, I loved Star Blazers. They were better than Commando. Yes.
Yeah,
definitely. What you should watch out for, I think it's number 150. They did a Choose Your Own Adventure Star Blazer, and it wasn't very good, but it was a noble effort.
Yep. The only ones that I've got, which actually, although they're completely different out of order, it's the 3 Carter ones. They did 3 Carter stories.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed Carter, and when I saw the books, that's what dragged me to the wee stall that had the 4 books. As I saw one of the Carter ones, and I thought, I remember that story. And I picked it up, and there's the other 2 of from the series, and then there was one other one. Accordingly, had a big box. I was just late to the show. Bummer. But good thing is, I'm in at the beginning. But I did enjoy them, and I've got one I've still to finish. That one, Bad Kitty, I'm actually halfway through. And I've got that one, which I'm so looking forward to because I love Ray Harryhausen. He's definitely one of my favourite animators. I just loved all the Land at Time. See, that one was written. That's from Jason and the Argonauts.
This one, no, 7th Voyage of Sinbad. It's a Cyclops.
It's a Sinbad one. Yeah. So it's on the beach. He basically the Sinbad and that's fighting him on the beach. Yeah. But they did a very similar idea than Jason. But I think it was more. It was the bronze statue.
Oh, Talos. Yeah.
That was the one I was thinking because that was the one that was in Jason and the Argonauts. It was the big bronze statue. But even his earlier stuff when he was doing things like with the dinosaurs, the animation on it was just amazing.
Yeah.
The animation.
Yeah.
So
that's basically always a good.
That's what got me into classic monster movies. Grew up watching things like Forbidden Planet, Them, stuff like that. But it was Ray Harryhausen that my dad liked. So I got introduced to them, and I love monster movies, especially ones. That's why I hate new ones. I don't want to see CGI. I want to see Patrick Troughton getting pecked by the harpies. Well, the guys are going like that. There's nothing there, and they're actually just having to act it. It's just, and then it was all just the skeletons all done, and then just mingled in with it. Just the idea of the work it had to go into it. Whereas CGI,
only one guy doing it. Only one guy,
Yeah. I used to
the only time he ever had help was on Clash of the Titans.
Yeah. With that stupid wee owl.
No, he just had one other person assisting him on the film. That was it. Last one he ever did.
Yeah, that was Jim.
I did notice. I was flicking through it, and I did notice the Gorgon.
Yeah.
So I did.
That page was good. I think we need to see that page large.
Yeah, that is just a superb page. That one. Let's see. I'll do it like that. And that was when he did Captain America.
Yeah.
And he used the shield. Unlike the Ray Harryhausen one.
Exactly. I didn't want to copy it. So we have.
Yeah, you've got the shield and you're laying it up for walking backwards because he's getting told by Shorty to walk backwards. He goes, and just throws the shield like, Captain America. Then there's the Captain
His
America
name is
reference afterwards.
Hellister. Hellister is the name.
Yeah, I like Shorty because even I couldn't pronounce it. There's no vowels in it, no vowels in it. So basically, I'm Scottish. I can actually barely speak English, so give me a break. All my words sound like that anyway.
It stands for the Richard Herring Leicester Square Theatre Podcast.
Yeah, because obviously
that's what I was listening to.
Yeah. see, there you go. That's the way. The reason I liked, I'm looking forward to that is obviously because it's not a follow up, but it's basically same characters, Doyle and Shorty.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to try and say his name again because I have tried numerous times and it always comes out as Riv. So it is.
That's all the cool kids call him.
I'll stick to Shorty. Thanks. I'm old. I'm not a cool kid. No matter what I say, but Shorty was, I'm assuming, based in Gronk.
Yeah, he was a combination of the Gronk and the Ribena berry.
I can see that. I must admit.
A fuzzy Ribena berry. Yeah.
When I first started writing it, he was a villain who was going to try and take over the ship and etc. And then as I wrote it, I just realised I quite liked him, so I decided to keep him. Yeah,
well, I say how he started. So that was your first book in this series, and that was obviously you had actually had that already written, and it was just a case of bringing it more together under the one banner. Yes,
well, it was written specially.
Was that one? What was the one? It was that. Oh, it was that one. It was the other one that I was looking at because I've read all the bump as well at the front. So I have. So obviously I might be getting them mixed up. You will need to actually hang me. So your inspiration for obviously you've got Gronk. Who was your inspiration for Doyle?
He's Han Solo meets Absalom Dark Dalek Killer.
See, I was thinking Han Solo when I read it. I must admit, it just had that. See if he was shooting up the way, I would have got more of a Star Wars vibe from it. Rather than shooting out or shooting up, I would have thought Star Wars. But yeah, he did remind me of the Han Solo character. Have
you ever read Absalom Dark Dalek Killer?
No.
It was in the Old Who Weekly, drawn by Steve Dillon, and he basically wants to, be exiled and fight Daleks for the rest of his life. And he's got actually a saw crossed with a chainsaw, and he just massacres Daleks all over the place. And he's very sort of devil may care and just grumpy and violent and other that. And Chuck Han Solo in as a lovable rogue. And it just sort of, I like writing that bloody type stuff. I mean, I left Hellister in the book because you need someone to bounce off with.
Yeah. And even your villainess in it. What was the inspiration for her?
I didn't have any inspiration for her. I just went by Alan's description. So
yeah, it's just because she pops up again. I thought same idea. She was based on someone. She reminded me a bit more. I suppose it's the new Mad Max one. I didn't really like it much. She reminds me just because of the thing. But she reminded me of the one from Blade Runner. The one of the
another one.
Priss, yes. That's who she reminded me of. And I thought, I wonder if Priss is or if it's a Mad Max one, but
no, I just needed it.
But I must admit, she looks menacing. And I think the black
the eye.
It wasn't because you were watching Johnny Depp's The Lone Ranger.
No.
No, see, I tried watching that once. It didn't last long.
Aye. See, I'm a big Lone Ranger fan, and although it wasn't a great movie, there was a couple of nice nods to the original that I liked. Like, for instance, when he does the charge towards the train, you've got the music the Lone Ranger, dun, 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 and it played it in the background. So they actually, unlike a lot of new ones, they didn't ignore it. And then when he does the hi oh Silver, and he goes, "You're not going to do that again." He goes, "No." It's very sort of at least a nod to the hat they did it, even though they did think nowadays it doesn't look as good, but it was part of the comics, and that's what it reminded me of. Just those wee bits, just sort of added in. So that was your original. That was an original story for your first book. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, actually, wrong one.
Yeah.
Ed
Ed came to me and said we should bring back Star Blazer. So I said, "Really? I've never written anything past 5 pages before, and you want me to do 64 pages of comic?" Which again, I've never done any stories. And so he's very persistent. So, and also I knew he could draw fast. So I wrote him the first 6 pages of the first issue. It's like the prologue. I wrote those 6 pages not knowing what was going to happen next at all. So creating Doyle, putting him in a situation and being a wise ass, that sort of thing, and with a couple of jokes. He drew it and we put it out there and asked if they'd like to read more of this if we did it. And unanimously, they said yes, because they don't have to do any of the work. So I wrote the whole thing quite quickly within the next week, I think. And I drew it very fast, like he does. And we just put out, the whole idea was that we'll do as many of these as we can. If we're lucky, we might get 3 a year, maybe 2 a year. I'll write them, Ed will draw them, and it'll be fun. We didn't want to necessarily make money. It was about product out there that people enjoy and we can be proud of, that we don't lose money on. So the Kickstarter target was always to cover the costs. Within after the first one, we started getting artists coming and saying, "Can we play? We like your comic."
Yeah. What we'll need to do is remind people that we'll have the details for the Kickstarter in the description after the video is finished, because I can't edit it while we're in the middle. But you need to send us that information so we can add it, so people, because the link to your Facebook page is in the description. You need to put a link to your Kickstarter, so it's there.
It's all on there.
Thanks, PJ.
A hero's journey as well. Then we've got some nice comments. The furry companion. When all you
my furry companion's a pain in the ass. I was telling PJ his name's Trinity, after the cowboy films. Trinity. They call me Trinity. And
Trinity,
we've actually got
the right hand and the left hand of the devil. Bud Spencer and
that's right, Terence Hill.
But
we've actually
love it.
It inspired me to write an issue for the future called They Call Her Trinity, which is basically my version of Strontium Dog with a female lead on a planet, and it's basically a western in space, very like Strontium Dog but without mutants.
Well,
about
as long as we get a decent female, not Durham Red. I was never a big Durham Red fan.
In a way, it's not a copy, I say. It's basically I wanted to do a western, and Strontium Dog for me was at its best, and it was done like a western. I mean, the one with the frog lady and Chinky Goober, and that's such a western story, and that's one of my favorites. So I wanted to do a western story that if Johnny Alpha was in this story, he would fit.
Yes. But I actually look forward to that one, the Terence Hill one. I love Trinity. Trinity is one hell of a movie, I must admit. And Gwen said she actually loves the name Trinity. She would love the character Trinity in the cowboy flicks. And I must admit, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Obviously, that was from when we were actually.
He's a great monster.
Yeah, that's a great monster. It's basically I picked up DVD up a couple of weeks ago. It's just a classic one. Right, going to the next one, which I must admit we all have favourites. This is my favourite so far. It is Roman gladiatorial combat with dragons. It's another dimension, another Earth, another time, and dragons are found, and taken as gladiators and slaves, and it's about them trying to get their freedom, shall we say. So what?
Spartacus with dragons.
Sparty. Actually, yes, that's exactly it. When I was reading the name, I was going, I'm saying, does that sound like Spartacus when I'm reading it out loud? So I'm sitting there reading it going, it was, let's see, Vargas. Was it Vargas? Yeah. It was, I'm sitting there thinking, Vargas, Spartacus. And it's basically, I'm trying to get the two of them to sound like that because that's what it reminded me of. I do love my...
I had a stroke some years back, and that was like me trying to say Spartacus, so it fit.
But yeah, I loved Spartacus, Blood and Sands, the three or four.
Wonderful.
That was
absolutely
superb.
Fantastic.
See, I'm not one who normally likes, see, like Game of Thrones, where they have a lot of nudity and violence out there just to get people in. Whereas Spartacus needed it because it was integral to the plot. It was to show how cheap human life was in Rome. So unlike Game of Thrones, the sex, violence, and all that were integral. So I didn't have to have a shoot, but that reminded me of it. And
with Game of Thrones, you may have noticed that the snacks in Game of Thrones actually went down after they got the audience and started telling an actual story. So it got people in, but they did cut a lot there afterwards.
Well, they did because the actors and actresses turned around and say, we don't need to do it now, so I'm not doing it. And it was a case of, I think they were brought in saying, this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're going to do it. We need an audience, so get them out for the boys. I'm never a fan of that, I must admit. That's why I think I wasn't keen on Game of Thrones initially. And then when they started killing characters, I thought, nope, I want my characters to live to actually complete something. I don't want to actually go, I like that character. Oh, he's dead now. No into that. But sometimes you need to kill a character off. Yes, I know. But that one, what was apart from Spartacus, what else was the reasoning behind it? What was
what tends to happen with Sentinel is I write for an artist. Ed wanted more dragons, so I had to think of a story with dragons in, and that tends to be how it goes. And I'm thinking Spartacus, really, I have no idea where it came from. It just I have watched the Spartacus 3 times, so maybe part of me inside was thinking that, and it was very interesting, together quite naturally, and rather than it can be continued, but myself, I quite like the way it's got a nice open ending. Because if there's a sequel, it would just be fighting in battles and be quite boring for me. So I'd rather tell a story in the dark. Yes, we've all got dragons. Well, I've got a cat.
See, that's a lot better dragon than mine's. Mine's is a Hydra at the best. It's basically a dragon-ish, but not as good as that one. I used to have a couple of really nice dragons, but a long time ago when I had to get some cash, I had to sell all my stuff. And I'm now trying to build parts of it up, but it ain't going to be the same. But I like it. I like dragons in my stories, and the fact that you've got Spartacus with dragons, I thought, love that. And I actually like the story as well. It's not just a case of visually. I like it. I like the story as well. It's a very compelling story.
One thing I don't like in my stories is plot holes, if I can avoid them. So I do like to go through each issue and each script. And if there's something that just think, if I was reading this, I'd wonder where they came from or why this is happening. You just have someone say something or put a note. So the dragons had to have a reason to be, for one dragon needed a reason to want to be a gladiator, etc., etc. Finding a note in a coconut was a bit random, but I couldn't think of anything better than that because they haven't got bottles. But my favourite part of that whole issue is when they escape and they leap out of the wagon shouting "Tooth and Claw, my brothers," which is a direct homage to Pat Mills' ABC with the Martian creatures slaughtered by the humans. They run the humans shouting with "Tooth and Claw, my brothers." So my scripts are full of stuff like that no one else except me. But I figured someone might pick up on that one because it's a great ABC horror story.
Yeah, I must admit, it just even straight away, as soon as I read it, I thought, whoa, so something will need to go to actually beat this one as my favourite. And it was the third one I read. I didn't come out of order, as you can imagine.
The story, PJ, was so different from the first issue. The first issue was very comedic.
It was, which I loved. I loved it. Although I did actually guess very early on he was a patsy. He was just a decoy. But I would never have guessed it was the cruise liner, the old couple.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would have been something. It would have been on the cruise liner. I didn't expect it to the couple you were talking about because they were just too enjoying their holiday. I didn't link that up. I knew he had to be, so somebody else would have actually been the courier. I thought it would have been one of the ones that was trying to rob it. It was just that was they've asked them to do that to deliver it and just sort of. Because if they were trying to rob it, then they would get stuff and just bring it, and then they would actually take it off wherever it was hidden somewhere. But it did sort of bits of it. I thought, I know where this is going, and then it still got me.
The whole story comes from it's from a true story, and there's a diamond called the Star of Africa, which is why the rich guy in it is called the Zardika, because anagrams. What happened is that it had to be sent to Britain, and so they had the ship with all the guards and everything else, and the actual diamond was toast, and that's where the idea came from.
Yeah, it reminds me of you see occasionally in some of the movies where they set up the 3 armored trucks and send them on different things because that's the decoy, one of the 3. So people at Robert have to actually try and do it 3 times. Whereas the guy with the courier with the bike with the wee box to deliver to one of the secretaries in the same building, it's just a secretary getting a wee rock, a wee necklace or something delivered. It's not a major issue, so he just cycles through the whole place, whereas everybody's going to actually after these 3 big armored trucks, and one of them's got the prize in it. So yeah, there is things like that, but that's what I would think when I thought I know where this is going, and I'm thinking, so what? One of the 3 groups that were there. So you had Shorty trying to steal it, then you had I can't even remember her name.
Petra.
She's trying to steal it, and I'm sitting there thinking, where else? But I knew that the ship was there. Was the ship something on the ship, the decoy? Yeah, that type of thing. So it was a case of it was just attached to it. It's just nothing. That was just showing you the people on the ship enjoying it, not realizing this was here until obviously they turned up with it. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. And the next one, the spooky one.
Oh, I love the spooky one.
Misty Moore.
Although
we should have given it a happier ending.
Yeah. They're the most depressing comics I've ever written. Although I did do a Judge Dredd story, which is just as depressing.
How can Judge Dredd be depressing? Come on.
When it deals with systemic child abuse within the Judge Academy system. On that story in Zarjaz.
See, I could never imagine that, but just for the simple fact is the judges would turn each other in. They would turn themselves in for doing a crime, and they would see that as a crime.
That's why they have a ring. Basically, I all found out that it would turn into an investigation and undercover child judges. This, will be fun and dark, but there wasn't. Just couldn't fit it into Zarjaz, but it's there. If I'm calling, I'll depress them. But that one, it's basically set in the early 80s, and it's a homage to Misty Comics, which I didn't used to read when I was younger, but I've read quite a few of the collections now. And I thought, well, we'll make it a teenage girl. It's set in where I used to live in a village called Yatton. There's a school which is based on where I went to school, and where they get the coaches is based on where I used to get the coach. So it's all very semi-autobiographical in that way. And I just, it's so easy to try and write something like that, and at the end, oh, we've got rid of the ghost, everything's fine, let's have a party. And I just didn't want a happy ending. I wanted it to be dark and nasty, just because I don't want everything just to wrapped up at the end every time.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm talking about a nice ending. The nice ending I wanted was she turned into a ghost, and her and Janet were there waiting for the next one.
Nah.
You see, rather than just the two headstones, which is fine, but I would have rather had the two headstones and with the two ghosts sort of looking down on them, so you know there's another one. Just then
I like
you
it.
would have
it's good. There's a sequel.
There's a sequel.
Something to think about, Alan.
Idea by. But no, that's basically, it's just one of those things. That's why sometimes people hate when I review something, because I'm a bit of a picker. I pick at wee things that like me, and it's just because you know what it's like. You read something and think, oh, I wonder what would have happened if this, or I wonder how that would have gone that way. It's just to me, and my dad used to call me, I'm a pedantic bugger. It's just because if I see something, I'm a pick.
Yeah, well, I'm the same. I've been through other people's scripts occasionally when they've asked me to, obviously, and you'll just see something, you could change your word there, or maybe this should happen, or this is. It's like when I rewrote Kazama the Slayer. It was when I read it, I didn't understand what was happening in some of it.
Yeah,
and just work out how to explain that a bit better, and maybe give them a bit more this time, or more dialogue. I mean, Kazana himself is never named in the comic because no one asked him his name, and he doesn't tell anyone his name. So I thought, well, we should get that in. So yeah, it's a case of that was nice because I actually got to rewrite a comic and be pedantic about stuff, and the art was already done.
And that I must admit, I quite enjoyed that one. And it's the same idea. The ones I've read, the only bit I would have said was just at the end. I was thinking, it's just because I was wanting a bit, maybe that extra panel, as I said, with the two ghosts, sort of. It could have been a case of Misty is not happy with Janet because of where she ended up and how she ended up and stuff like that. And then there would have been the two ghosts try to be at each other and try to find ways of hurting each other or hurting, you know what I mean? But or else the two of them join up because they realised it was a bully that caused all this in the first place. But it's just one of those ones. I like ambiguous endings. I do like ambiguous endings. So the fact that you were seeing the two ghosts, it will let the mind go, could have done this. I wonder if this. I wonder if that. You seen Boss Level?
The sequel would be a bad sitcom now.
Yes. It's the same as, have you seen the movie Boss Level recently?
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
I loved it, and I loved the end of it because there's two ends. There's one on Hulu and one on Amazon. I've not seen the Hulu one, and I'm glad I didn't. But the Amazon one leaves it very ambiguous. He walks into the
that must be the one I've seen.
Yeah, and I love that one because I do love that ambiguity because it allows you to think of how the story could end.
Well, what I liked about it was it basically took the idea of growth, but actually thought of an explanation for why it's happening that made sense to the movie universe, you know, MacGuffin. Whereas Granville Day, it's just magic or God or whatever. So I actually love the fact they think about it.
Yeah, and I must admit, I'd done a review of a new movie because I'm a classic boy. I just watch classic stuff. And I love classic movies. Very rarely nowadays I watch a new movie and like it. And somebody had recommended Boss Level to me. And I watched it 3 times. I was meant to watch it twice to do a review, and I enjoyed it that much. I watched it again. And then I had to watch it another twice to do the review again. Basically, it just caught me so. It was such a beautiful movie. And the ambiguity at the end of it didn't change that. But I like ambiguous endings because it leaves the door open to continue the story as such, but it also means that even if you don't continue the story, your mind can go, it could do this and it could do that, or this could happen. Or I wonder if it would be like this. Would the two ghosts like each other or dislike each other? That's what my mind does, and that's why that's why I was going. I was expecting the two ghosts to come up just to be very. You don't know are they going to hate each other because of how they ended, or are they going to be the ones doing the next target. But then again, as you said, that's the next book.
At least it made you think, though, Pete, after reading it. It just made you start thinking about
that's good.
things.
And that's what I like doing. That's why I like a good comic, same as a good movie, makes you think. You look at things like the classic ones, Blade Runner, is Deckard a replicant or is he human? Or Total Recall, was it a dream or was it real? It's that type of thing. So I do like those type of stories which 40 years on, we're still actually asking the question, well, nearly 40 years for Blade Runner. You know what I mean? And that's what I like about a movie, when it makes you think. It's the same as even the old classic sci-fi ones. The giant ants. They sort of told you where they came from, whatever, but they left it in such a way that they're all destroyed, but are they? It was only one nest. It's not, I mean, it's only one nest. Whereas you got the invasion of the body snatchers, they left it in such a way that, yeah, if you want to actually finish the story there, then the army moved in and stopped them spreading out. But then you had the remake of the invasion of the body snatchers, which was different enough that you could say the classic one was set in a small town. Maybe one of the truckloads got through, and now this one is set in a large city. So it's a continuation of the original, but it's almost the same as the original. So it's Disney take away from the original, it just sort of adds to it. Although it's a good movie in its own right. But when you go back now, you can see the original and think, did that lead on to the new movie, or is the new movie just a reimagining of the old movie? Because it leaves it ambiguous again. And I think the new movie, it's the first time a reboot has actually improved the first movie because it gives that ambiguity to it. But I love ambiguity. The next one, I must admit, I'm not a big fan, and I know where the reasoning behind this is Ace Truck Company. It's one of the. There was 3 stories I disliked, which were very popular in 2000 AD. I disliked Ace Trucking Company. I disliked Slane, and I know people are going to kill me for that. I disliked Quincy and
DR and Quinch.
DR and Quinch. I disliked them. There was 1 or 2 parts in it I liked, but the whole story of the. But then again, I was never one for the weirder ones. I was always a bit more conservative of the way I liked it. It's the same as you used to get ones where they would do the psychedelic drawings, and I think I like a drawing where, yes, there's a difference between a psychedelic drawing and something that's a bit. The difference between those two, I wouldn't class them as psychedelic. The 2 art styles or the 3 art styles are all nice artwork. Whereas I think the ones that sort of look as if somebody's drew a picture and then spun it on a thing, they sort of goes, whoop. To me, that doesn't look like art. But I know I'm a Philistine sometimes because. But I'm terrible because I'm one of these ones. We all have things that we like. And some people don't like what you like, and you don't like what people like. Because if we all liked the same thing, there would be one book, there would be one TV show, there would be one movie, nothing else. Because if we all like the same thing, and we don't like the same thing, then there would never be anything else except the one thing. I like the fact that people have got different opinions and stuff. I love that.
That was the way with 2000 AD back in the day. You had so many types of stories and art,
And that's the thing is, I still bought them all. They were just not my favourite stories because I would prefer. I liked the artwork. There was a lot of different artwork, and even within the Judge Dredd. But the ones that I didn't like as much were the ones that just looked very psychedelic, and they were a certain run of those ones. And any time they did a drug story or something like that, they would use that type because. It's obviously they're making the drugs, making it look as if you knew somebody was on drugs because when you were seeing it from their eye view, it was all psychedelic. But they were never my favourites.
I guess you weren't keen on Brandon McCarthy then.
No, it's just one of those things. But there was other stories where people are saying, "Oh, I don't like that one because it looks too black and white, too pencil drawn," and I'm sitting there thinking. That's a beautiful artwork. It just looks amazing. And yes, they would do occasionally ones they would do in black and white. Whereas, let's see the books, the Judge Dredd compendiums, right? You know, black and white. Yeah, some of those stories were done in color, and I like them both in color and in black and white because they're different aesthetics, and I love that. I don't need to see it in color because the black and white just adds to certain things. You don't need to see what color the judge's uniform is or what color the perp's design is on the thing for a compelling story. But sometimes visual stuff can take you out. So if somebody says they don't like the black and white pencil type drawings, I can understand that. Don't agree with them. I know they're crazy, but I can understand it.
Who's your favorite artist, PJ?
Wagner. Basically, I just love my 2000 AD, and I've actually got a couple of books signed by I can never Carlos and John. I got a few stuff. I love that stuff they did with Judge Dredd. Actually, when I did the Judge Dredd, first time one of the artists there took a picture and says, "John will love that." I says, "John," he says, "Aye, John Wagner." I thought, there you go, wow, I'm actually copying from the comic books. And there's somebody saying one of the guys actually involved in it would love the costume I made. And I thought, yeah, probably he'll think, okay, consider.
He is the godfather.
Yeah, because I've actually seen a lot better costumes out there. Yes, I appreciate mine was just thrown together because I don't have the skill as some people. But the fact that he thought, you'll like that. But yeah, I loved the John Wagner stuff. I loved the classic look of it. It's just, I remember reading issue number 2 of 2000 AD. And that's what dragged me in. Yeah, it was sci-fi. Yeah, it was a bit violent for my youngish mind. But it was just the artwork just dragged me in because it was just so interesting to watch Dirty Harry in the future. And in effect, that's what they wanted to do, a Dirty Harry type story. And the artwork, which you look at the difference between the first couple of stories with Judge Dredd, he didn't have the eagles. It was just 2 shoulder pads. And then it's expanded from there. But even if you go back to that, it was so iconic. And I think that's why I loved, although I'm not a big fan of Ace Trucking Company, I thought that story was really funny. I really enjoyed that. It's just, I could just imagine people doing that even now, just winding other cab companies up just to actually try and mess them around. Even though you had a lad kid in there, come on to buggery.
It's another one that's basically designed that I wrote especially for an artist. We had Paul Spence, who has never done a comic. So Ed said, "Would you like to draw 64 pages of Sentinel?" And he was quite up for it. And I'd seen his drawing. He's obviously a very talented artist and a ludicrous fan of Massimo Bellardinelli. Whereas so am I, so that was fine. So what I wanted to do was basically mix up Ace Trucking Co. with the old taxi sitcom from the 70s and 80s.
I love taxi
sitcom. Squish them together and see what comes out, and stuff in a whole lot of references and mad stuff. I mean, one page has got a Doctor Who reference and an Asterix reference, and someone else stuck on the same page. So it's like using the sound effect. It's like using the sound effect PAF, which is an Asterix sound effect. There's just no other reason, just because I like Asterix.
Where was it? Well, I know Asterix and Obelix are just fantastic. I remember growing up with them.
The hitman basically gets some bugs splashed on his visor.
Yes,
and he says, "My vision is impaired," which is the old Dalek.
So it is. I was wondering because I was smiling at that part as he was writing it.
I know that.
It did not even register with me. It was one of my Daleks. Sorry, guys.
It's subtle, It's this subtle stuff. I do.
It was very subtle.
I love throwing stuff like that in for me, because it made me interested more than anything else. And you'll notice in that what Paul also did. What Paul did was throw in a ton of background gags himself, and in the strip gags that I didn't have any hand in writing whatsoever. He just made so many panels inventive and with little bits in. If you reread it and squint, you can see these always strange stuff on. A lot like Massimo Bellati used to do.
I love the wee thing trying to climb up and down the chair.
Yeah, the worm thing. I mean, that's all him. That's Paul all the way.
Notice that. I did notice that, and I thought, "Oh,
that was funny." Yeah, nothing to do with me at all, and I loved it when he did it. Considering, I mean, some people may have some of his panel work might not be, it's obviously not advanced, but this is his first ever comic, and he did a fantastic job. And the weird thing is, he really came off well. And one thing of special interest in that one is the evil taxi firm owner. It's called Badrock, and he was based on the back page is an advert for Rock of the Reds by John Wagner and Dan Cornwell. And I asked them, can we base the bad guy on the same species and call him Badrock, and we'll give you a free advert on the back if you let us do it. And they were fine. Bless them.
Do you know,
John's always
it was only until I got to the end that I realised that I was wrong, because have you ever seen Chelmsford 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, blimey. Badvock.
Badvock. That's exactly who I was thinking when I was reading it. Rory McGrath.
Roy McGrath.
I love Chelmsford 1, 2, 3. I've done a review of it on an earlier channel, an earlier one. I just think it's one of those ones. The Roman Britain is fantastic.
I haven't seen that since it came out.
I know, I've got the DVD. I watch it every so often because I think it's just classic. But it was just as I read it, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if that's ends too. It was only when I got to the end.
Badrock.
I realised
it's nice of John to let us do it, and we showed him the sketches. He was very happy with it. So again, that wasn't necessary at all. We didn't need to make it that. I just thought it might be fun, and if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
And I'm a very big fan of Rock of the Reds myself, so
yeah, I'm not any sporty comics. I'm not a sporty person. I don't even watch.
Nor am I.
I don't even watch sports, so I don't. I didn't even like Roy of the Rovers and stuff like that.
You always have a comics fan.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. And I've actually got a few ones that I got. Oh, what they were. There was a couple of them were sport parts. I've got them somewhere. I've not read them because they're sporty. So I've got the range of comics bank. 2 or 3 of them were all about sport, and I've read so far, and I went.
Harlem Heroes was good.
But I do like I like independent. I like Mandy comics because they're different, and that's the thing. Because when you go into each comic here, you don't expect a follow on from the last one. You don't expect it to go down the same route. Whereas I think nowadays, when I'm reading a comic, I was always into Judge Dredd 2000 AD Spider-Man. So I stopped reading the Spider-Man when he went to Spectacular Spider-Man, and it was Doc Ock inhabiting his body, because I thought these are all just same old. There's nothing new. Or Doc Ock's learning something. Doc Ock saves somebody. Doc Ock does that. And I'm sitting there thinking, don't care enough, because they're all just wrote. You could actually tell the next story it's going to be similar. Judge Dredd I always found different, and indie comics I always find are different. And that's why I love this one, because I went into this going, oh, Ace Core, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was hilariously funny. Yes, I could see where it was based on Ace, but it was different enough and funny. I thought it was hilarious, and it's definitely one that I've read. I read that one twice. Same as the Scales of Justice. That was one of the other ones that I read twice. I was meant to finish all of these today. Well, over the last 2 days, because busy. My work's been mental, but that one and the Scales of Justice, sort of, that's why the other two have not been finished, because I read this twice. I enjoyed that, and I definitely think it's one of the funniest books that I just.
What the next one we've got for Paul is called Heartbreak Spotel, and it's basically Yeah, I wanted him to have something equally daft. So we've got 40 towers in space in a way. That was the basis, the bedrock for
You
it.
need to have a Bubba Hotep in that.
Not yet, no.
Yeah, you need to have a Bubba Hotep as in an aging Elvis. If you're going to have Heartbreak Hotel, you have to have an aging Elvis.
No, it's
and
Heartbreak Hotel. It's a space hotel.
Right, you're going to have a spotel, but you look at Bruce Campbell's Bubba Hotep. He plays an aging Elvis, and he's absolutely amazing. So you imagine an aging Elvis like from Bubba Hotep and Heartbreak Hotel.
Paul can stick one in the background.
And that's all you need. It's a case of you always get to see ones like that. Elvis is dead, and you see somebody that looks like Elvis walk past in the background or something. You always see that when there's an Elvis type movie on. There's always somebody that looks like him.
It does link. It will link a bit with the Taxi one because the young kid is going to be in it now, working for the police. He's got basically the spotel is in neutral space, and so anything goes there. And two robbers are hiding out, and they have to try and flush them out of the neutral space. And of course, a lot of silliness happens.
Definitely Fawlty Towers. Fawlty Towers is a superb one, I must admit. I do love Fawlty Towers, and I can't wait to see that one as well. Right.
Well, instead of Mr. Fawlty, we've got it's run by Lionel Lobsang, who's cloned himself, and the clone helps him run it instead. And they're always arguing. And there is a Mrs. Richards, which is nice, which was the deaf one in Fawlty Towers. So although it's nothing to do with her, again, I've taken some of the names from the actual sitcom because it makes me feel more comfortable writing if the chef's called Terry or whatever.
Yes. Have you got a Manuel?
There isn't a Manuel. There's an amorphic blob.
What about Basil, as in the rat? Or
No. To be fair, I haven't actually taken any of the plot from Fawlty Towers, but it's like Fawlty Towers. It's a farce. So there's stuff's going on. People are trying to do stuff, and everything just goes wrong all the time. It's just a silly farcical story, which is quite a lot of fun. And he's already done the sort of hotel page. And again, his artwork is absolutely stunning, and people he does commissions for people, and the amount of detail put in them is phenomenal. I think Paul could easily draw for a major publication if they brought Ace Trucking back in 2000 AD and just let him draw it. Everyone would love it, but Rebellion aren't the brightest bulbs in the bunch all the time.
Well, I know I've seen some of the stuff they've put out recently, and some of the
Skip Tracer.
Yeah,
that is shit.
So, right, I know the. I'm trying to actually see these words. They forget. Now you know why I don't write anything, because I can't even speak proper. Anyway, I know that it's Ray Harryhausen is basically the. What's the word? Come on, Mr. Writer. What's the word that I'm trying to think of? I've used it before in the past. Yes, it's a homage to Ray Harryhausen. That's the word I was looking for. So, tell us about this one. Why you love Ray? Well, we all know why we love Ray. Why did you go with the Ray Harryhausen one?
I just grew up with all the Ray Harryhausen movies. I was a big stop motion fan. Have a few of his books actually, through the making of books, and as you've seen, I have the Cyclops figure. I just love his work. I mean, he's a genius, a legend when it comes to this type of thing. So I suggested to Alan that maybe we could incorporate, as a homage to his work, So Alan came up with the idea of having the two guys in a Greek theme park fighting these. Well, there were actually a bit of backstory. There were going to be the actual monsters from the movies, but litigation got in the way, so we had to change around the creatures. Even Ray's name got changed,
which is unfortunate. But I'll show you this. I was up at a comic book store, and I ended up purchasing this, right? Ash for the Evil Dead, right? Which is beautiful because I'm a big Bruce Campbell fan. However, that was my second choice. My first choice was Kong from the original King Kong movie. And that was the figure I wanted because stop motion animation, because it's just, I loved that Kong. It's the one my mum used to always tell everybody, he cried at the end of King Kong. Mum, stop telling people that I'm 40, leave me alone, and stuff like that. So that was the one my mum always used to say. He's a big softy, really. He cried at the end of Kong. Mum, that was 35 years ago. Stop telling people. But as soon as I saw it in the shop, I did the typical what I normally do. I'm heading up to the other store where they have always got a lot of good stuff. So I spotted it. I went in, had a look around, saw the ones that I wanted, knew how much I had to keep. Went up to the other store, which is the museum, and they didn't have as much as I wanted. So I still had the money to come back and purchase it. I walked in, and there's this young boy walking out with it. And I thought, so I asked them, they didn't have another one. So I ended up with the Bruce Campbell one. And I was standing outside the chip shop, and the boy was sitting there taking the box very delicately apart. He must have been about 8 or 9, taking the box very delicately apart, taking it out. And I said to his dad, he beat me to it. He says, I'm glad because he's a big King Kong fan. You should see the collection he's got. And it's all the classic stuff. He prefers the classic King Kong, 8, 9-year-old. Wow. Sure, and he basically says, "Oh, it doesn't leave them in the boxes. They have. Let's have to come out the box." It had bits you add to the head and stuff like that. It had a fairy, so it could hold on to it. It just looked amazing. And I was sitting there thinking,
"Did the kid cry at the end?"
No, probably not. It wasn't me after all. No biplanes either. But and that's the one
you killed this beast.
See, I loved the Ray Harryhausen stuff, Jason the Argonauts as well. As you said, the Sinbad one, and just I love the dinosaurs fights he did in Kong. Well, you know what I mean. He did the dinosaur fights. It's the same as I grew up watching King Kong, the dinosaur fights, the Kong fighting the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I just love those. They just to me were.
It's tiny, but it's just a skeleton.
The skeleton.
Yeah, I don't know if you can even see it. It's just tiny.
Aye.
A friend of mine is a big Warhammer collector, and he just painted up a skeleton for me. You know, just because I'm a big fan of the movies, Ray Harryhausen movies. I mean, when you think about it, that skeleton sequence in Jason and the Argonauts, that took 6 months to actually create 4.5 minutes of action. You know.
Yeah. I must admit, I used to have, let's just say thousands. I can't remember exactly, but I had over 400 for my Bretonian army alone. But I had a full unit of skeleton warriors, and they were all painted the Ray Harryhausen. A full unit of them. I loved it. I had to sell my whole collection, so I did. So they all went, but I still. Sometimes I wish I could actually paint again. Can't paint, can't even hold a pen. I'm right-handed, so I can't do anything. I can't paint my figures. I can't create bits and pieces that I used to, and I miss it because it would be. Like for instance, some of my models. One of my favourite ones now is no one that I painted. It's one that my friend painted. Can I imagine why I enjoy that one? Very Minotaur. It's obviously it's not a Warhammer figure, but
it looks cool, yeah.
It does, and I got that box set, and it was for that single figure. There was about 30 figures in it, but it was that figure, and it was because it reminded me of the Minotaur from the Maze, and then my friend painted it for me because if I paint them now, they look as if they've been painted by my 2-year-old nephew. My painting's terrible nowadays. That's what happens when you're right-handed and you can't see now. I'm getting old. When I was a lad. You're lucky my 2 dogs are in here. Seeing the cat. Although my two dogs would actually want to play with it. So yeah, my two dogs are nuts. They just want to play with everything they see. Usually keep them away from my stuff. Yep. So I've only started this one. I've about, I would say, a third of the way through it. So what was the inspiration for this one? Bad Kitty. Was it to do with anything jumping up your shoulder or anything like that?
No, well, once again, it was a case of an artist came to us, Morgan Gleave, who drew that. He's very into skateboarding and cats. I see that seems to be his two favourite things. And I love cats too, not so much the skateboarding. So I decided some sort of anthropomorphic animals type story. And so he's also a big fan of the stainless steel rat, as am I. So I wanted a sort of charismatic lead character, a bit like, in the vein of Slippery Jim de Grizz. And so we sort of combined the two, where we've got the Slippery Jim type character with talking animals. And again, it's very odd. I just have a rough idea of what the story is going to be, and I just start writing and see who comes along and joins in. So there's a lot of comic strip animal jokes in that one, and Morgan got them all too, which is nice. And it's very good to have that sort of different styles as well. His next one is, again, all animals, called Rover the Barbarian, a fantasy story, which every character is a talking animal. And although it's called Rover the Barbarian, it's not a comedy. It's a totally serious story.
Let me guess, Rover's a dog.
Rover's a dog? Oh, there's also a homage to Yojimbo in there as well. A samurai rabbit that he has to fight right at the beginning. Because Morgan said, can we put Yojimbo in there? So I stuck a scene with a samurai rabbit. Things like that. Also, a few nods to Alan Dean Foster's Spinoza series. I just enjoy writing stuff. And like I say, the rough idea is Rover goes off, gets dragged into helping someone get their sister who's been taken by slavers, and they do it. And then I have to sit down and write it. And it just comes out of nowhere. It's lots of fun. Yep.
It definitely does. I must admit, I do like... I've seen a few stories with talking animals, and it can put a difference on how you look at things.
Yeah.
Because you can put the characteristics of the animal in to a story where if a man said it, it would just sound silly. Whereas if a dog says it, it actually can be taken a bit more seriously, but still funny.
Well, the point of Bad Kitty is there's a very rich dog who got lucky when he was mining, and when he was a pup, when he was younger, his parents adopted a cat. So he got him, I think it's his 5 brothers and a cat, and they all hated the cat. They didn't even give it a name because they don't like.
And then his internet may have gone down. Well, we'll see if we can connect back in.
Right. I just want to answer a couple of questions here, PJ. I just seen the comments.
Yes.
Heartbreak Spotel will be out next year. Paul is working on the artwork at the moment, so that'll be on Kickstarter next year.
Yeah, and what we'll do is we'll put the link to the Kickstarter, but we'll also put a link to the Facebook page, which they can you can monitor at CamCam. And you'll see any books coming up, and the Kickstarter's there as well. So we'll put them in.
We'll update everyone on the Sentinel Facebook page. The current Kickstarter is for issue 9, which we'll probably talk about anyway, PJ, very soon.
Yes, because I only got 1 to 7. 8, Alan sent me a link. I'm going to read that after I finish these 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the... Although the digital, I'm not a bit great fan of digital, but guys, you can get it hardback. You get hard copy, or you can get the digital one. Obviously, digital ones are cheaper, but you can get digital as well.
Yeah, just to let everyone know, PJ, issue 8, To Be a Hero, is actually printed and is starting to post out to backers, and we'll be getting out copies too. So if anyone wants a copy, just contact the Sentinel page on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I'll be definitely doing that because I like my physical copies. But it'll not be until next month when I've got enough money I can do things. So I'll probably book the next 3, which would be 8, 9, and 10. So I might be a bit.
it's amazing, PJ, to think that we will have 10 issues of Sentinel, you know, from an idea between myself and Alan to now to actually possibly, you know, 10 issues now at this stage, you know.
Well, that's ideal, and as like Cam said, that it's indie comics are the way forward, the way of the future, because they can tell interesting stories without having too much baggage.
Yeah.
Like you even look at any one of those. Right, Alan's back in.
My internet went down. So
yeah, we get that much as soon as you froze mid-sentence.
Bloody Sky.
But I was saying that you look at even some of the books, me mentioning of current culture. Can you imagine a DC comic or a Marvel comic where they mention something from Doctor Who or something from Captain America or something from any of the other geek cultures? Whereas indie comics, they don't need to actually say this is a Dalek from Doctor Who. They can make the references, the eye stock. They don't need to do it. Can you imagine any of the big comic types doing something which has got a geek culture reference that isn't something they own? And that's what I like about indie comics is they can take something, even an idea. I've got one called, is it the laptop guy? And it's, believe it or not, it's about an IT support guy.
Really?
Or it becomes that. And I enjoyed it. It's called
Not a guy that was bitten by a radioactive laptop.
Basically, it's just one, and it's just a fun story. I read it. It must have been when I got it. I read it, and you're talking about 4 years ago at a Comic-Con when I got about 4 or 5 others. My daughter got a couple called The Dark Light, and they were darker stories. And I'd said to him, I says, I don't like it. So I got to know the guy because every year me and my daughter would go, she would go straight up to him, get his most recent comics. And that was it. And he kept saying, you not getting them? Nope. I don't like dark stuff. I like comic stuff. I like light stuff. Went back and he says, here, I've got something for you. And he'd done one light book. It was more humorous, and it done it to a dark twist. It was always a light twist. And he says, there's been 1 or 2 people complaining that I do dark stuff all the time. So he did one book, light twist, and I thought, beautiful. So I bought 2. Because I wanted one and I gave one to my daughter. Yeah, see, try this, stop being so nihilistic. Yeah. But it's that type of thing. There is something that I'd said and 1 or 2 other people have said. And all he did was, oh, well, let's try it. So he did one book to try it. And if it succeeded, but there's been Comic-Cons around here for the last 2 years, so I've not had a chance to see if he's done any more.
Hey, can we just have a quick shout to the comment section?
Yeah. We did Cam's one.
With the physical copies. Yeah, this one here. The physical copies are all just message our Facebook page or on Twitter. And the Heartbreaks Hotel is in development. It will be not till at least next year because we have other issues on the go. And all our artists have real jobs.
Yeah. I'll check through the see if I've missed any comments. Well, obviously the Faulty Towers in Space. All right, Rendology. Let's see. That's obviously they've been to the hotel. What hotel were they going to see?
From Wildebeest.
That's basically Mrs. Rogers.
Mrs. Richards.
Aye.
Unit manager? What? That's my favourite episode.
Right, so Ray Harryhausen, which I did that. I did the same when basically with my dad. It was right into the old classic monster flicks. Right, so we got that one from Cam. So that's it. We're going to put the link to your Facebook page, your Kickstarter, and I'll put your Twitter name in it, which should be there for most of it. So I'll put as much detail in the description as possible to help anybody get out. So there's Wen's already put the link to the Facebook page. And thank you very much. And Cam likes physical copies, don't we all?
Well, we have an Etsy page.
It's best to come directly to us because Etsy is a bit of a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
And also they take a percentage.
Yeah. Well, I did that as well. I did it via PayPal. It was very straightforward, simple. But then again, unlike you guys, I got mine autographed.
That's a nice autograph. I like it.
I do like getting mine autographed. Even if the fact is, I've said to guys before, they say, you want an autograph for that, no ruin it? No, because you're getting something. It's the same as a picture. If I get a picture now, it's a guy's. If it's signed, at least I know who I got it from, because you know what it's like. Sometimes you'll get like your own, right? Okay, take your own as an example, right? So you've obviously got script, art, and letterwork, as well as cover art. So you've got 4 names. They're not always all different. They could be the same. The letterwork and the art and the cover art could be the same person, right? However, you know what it's like. If I was going to look, say, like, when I'm going to purchase them, usually Alan, it's usually you I went to. Well, I say, could you sign it? Because I know where I'm getting it from. It's the same as if I'm buying something, I'm buying it off eBay. I don't want somebody on eBay or Amazon get me a signed copy, because it could be anybody selling it and they just sign it. So when I'm getting it from the artist, that way I know where I've got it. And that's why I like my books signed. I'm weird like that.
And you know where all the money's going to as well.
Yeah, exactly. I know where the money's going to. When I got yours, I went straight to you, got them, and you signed them for me. Perfect.
It's been very weird for me realizing that people actually would like my signature, because I've only been writing things for a few years.
Well,
you're
lucky. The only people who want my signature are usually on the bottom of bills or checks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we actually, with the point with Sentinel, because we got a variety of artists, you don't get copies signed by the artist and the writer. So if anyone's at Lawless next year in May in Bristol, we will have most of our artists there. So if anyone is coming and has issues, that's when to actually we've all got issues. That's when to come along and get them signed by everybody.
I remember I'm up in Scotland, so right. I'm one of your books. What I was going to say was, seeing how your cover art, you've got the bits at the back with this one of different art styles. Look at that one there.
That's cool. That's Neil Sims. He's a talented bugger. I hate him. I've never known anyone who can create like that.
Why don't you have some artwork on your pages to sell?
We have cover prints.
Artwork signed.
Well, she got prints of all the artwork.
See, I've not seen them.
People just have to ask. They're on Etsy as well, but no.
Is that why? I don't really use it, Etsy, but
and also always in the Kickstarter as well. These are just ones that were done for the comic for a bit of fun.
See, I love that one.
Yes, that's an old one again, isn't it, Ed?
You had that one, Alan. Yeah.
And see, but that's what I'm saying. There's just even that. Look at that page. That one there. I just love that artwork. It's not different. I like, if you look at where is it now? I've got my artwork up there. I've got one that I got a guy to sign. See, I like, that's just a simple print he's put down. Johnny Alpha, he did it and just signed it the year I got it. So I know exactly where I got it and stuff like that. Yeah, look at that. See, that's
the original artwork there.
See, that is just a beautiful piece of art.
That's on A4 acrylic card. Yeah, back in the day, yeah.
See, that's the thing. That's why I've got artwork up my wall. But there's very few I've got from original artists. A lot of them it's just bits and pieces. I've got a Judge Dredd cover, but it was the same again. I saw it online and I bought it, and all it is just a photocopy of a cover.
So I've got 14 dreads by the artists I've got at conventions, and when they did the 40th anniversary convention in London, I basically saw which artists were going to be there doing signings, and I've printed out, if you like, photos of their work just so they could sign the photo. That was pretty easy because it'd be all day to do stuff.
I try not to fall over this one because it's right behind my monitor. But look at this one. Got the artist to sign it.
Oh, nice. Who's that?
Right. Got the artist to sign it, so he's signed it down there. But I also got Sophie Aldridge to sign it. She was
who drew it? Is it Lee Sullivan?
It's CRASL. I'll need actually. It's on the back somewhere, but I have got his name because I check him out every time I go because he does some great work. He's done some Judge Dredd ones as well. I've got a couple of big Judge Dredd ones up, but they're too high up for me to climb to get it. I've got the Judge Dredd on his Lawmaster and one standing in front of his Lawmaster. He did those as well. And I've got the one with Judge Dredd and Captain America. Yes.
So that's just signed by Carlos, although it's just my own print.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I've got a lot like that. I've got bits and pieces, Read the Wolf like that. I've got bits. I just love those. It's the same idea. I'm trying to see if his name's on one of these. Hold on. Gary Erskine.
Oh yeah,
Gary Erskine. That's who did it. So I've got about 4 of his, but that was one he just did basically, and all he did is he just laminated it because he was just doing multiple ones. And I'd asked for one. He says, here I've got one laminated because I just bought my 2 big Judge Dredd ones. And I saw his Strontium dog. He says, have that one. And it was just a laminated one that he had as a placeholder. So he gave me it.
We will have cover art prints and physical copies available at Meanwhile Convention in Coventry next weekend. Not the weekend coming, the one after. I'll be there for 2 days and getting very drunk with anybody who wants to get very drunk.
Yeah, there was a Comic-Con here. See, I knew I should have asked somebody in the chat. Yeah, it was Gary Erskine. I just dug it out later on because I knew I had his name somewhere. Yes, Windology. I knew somebody would know. It's typical. I'm terrible with a signature. I can't even read my signature unless I know. My signature's as bad as some artists' ones, and I'm not saying yours is bad. I'm just saying as some artists. Yes, have you ever seen Bruce Campbell's signature?
No.
His is meant to be super cool because he does so many of them. He's actually got it just down pat where you can see the BC and it's meant to be superb.
I remember. You remember Michael Sheard, who was in Grange Hill and nearly every film in the 70s and 80s. He once said that unsigned copies of his autobiography were much rarer than signed copies because he did such a convention. He'd signed just about every copy in existence.
Yeah. Well, I've got an autobiography of Pat Troughton by his son Michael, and I've got Michael signed it. And when I was asking him to when I purchased it and asked him to sign it, he says, it's funny, most people don't ask for my autograph because it's always his dad. It's always his dad was the big famous guy. Yeah, he played Piers Fletcher Dervish in The New Statesman.
His son,
and Michael Troughton, the one who wrote his autobiography. That was Piers, is Michael Troughton. And that's what he says. Although he's been on TV, he doesn't get his. He wasn't as popular as his dad, which is obviously. But when I asked him for his autograph on the book, and he says it's unusual, people. So there's something not as many out there, but I think it's actually such a great book. He accidentally sent me 2 copies, and I offered to send his other copy back because one wasn't signed, one was. And he says, no, just give it to your pal. Really nice, because I'd offered it because it was a mistake, and I'm aware of that. So he's obviously just sent it out twice. One was the autograph one, which he was meant to send out, and the other one, he's probably had the note and he's came across it and signed and sent it out again. And it basically offered to send it back to him, and he says, no, just give it to one of your friends.
Okay, we've got another quick shout to Wendy. Is the Meanwhile Festival, Wendy? Yes. Meanwhile Festival, that's the one.
Yeah,
it's 2 days in Coventry. It's completely free, and there's some very, very good quality artists and writers there, and me, which is great. If you need a signed copy of Sentinel or writing tips, just bring me a couple of cans of cider, and we're fine. We can do that.
See, unless you're coming up to Scotland, you're knackered with me. I can't actually travel very well. No, I can't travel. It's just I'm always busy, so I can't afford to.
I'm at the other end of the country to you.
Aye. Basically, the last Comic-Con I went to, believe it or not, apart from the ones Glasgow and stuff like that, when they were doing them, was one down in here. There was a small Comic-Con. They called it a toy and comic show. I think it was to get away from the Comic-Con, but in effect, it was just a very small Comic-Con. So they had a couple of guys dressed up outside to let people know what was on, and there was about 5 or 10 stalls selling comic books, figures, badges, bits and pieces, artwork, the lot. That's what they did. And it was.
There's one where I live in Weston-super-Mare. They call it the Stars of Time, and it's always you see people from Doctor Who usually turn up. The Sophie Aldred was there the last time before COVID, and she was very nice. And they had Romana, Lala Ward, so the last one she did before she moved away. Mike from the Young Ones, who's obviously from Taran as well. He was nice too. And it's a nice sort of friendly little con. And we're usually, because I own a shop that sells comics, it's only us and maybe one other that's selling comics there. Otherwise, it's all toys. And it's a shame. Yeah. Meanwhile, it's going to be good because it is a comic festival, not a bloody Funko Pop festival. Yeah, I know you like it.
See, I like, the thing is, I'm one of the ones I like a wide variety. I do like hunting for my Star Blazers. Even Commando comics. I have got a few Commando comics. And I do like hunting for stuff. Yes, I could go in line and buy them, but I prefer the hunt. So Comic-Cons are ideal for that, because you get ones that are just somebody will sell a bunch of comics in it wrapped up because they're old comics nobody bothers about. Star Blazers! Yay!
I'm the same, PJ.
Yeah.
It's right.
It's always
the old Eagle presents comics. The American side, black and white, good ones.
So those are beautiful. I remember reading them, but unfortunately, I'm stuck with these ones.
Okay, I just want to give Wendy another shout out whilst they're getting their comics away. Ciderman, if you go onto YouTube and look up Ciderman, a Spider-Man musical parody, you can hear me singing about Ciderman to the tune of the Spider-Man theme tune in a swing version, which was by Michael Bublé. It's quite silly, but I'm very pleased with it. It's a strange link, I know, but yeah, Cider-Man is me.
See, look, that's what I'm saying about the classic artworks. Whereas you look at some of the psychedelic stuff, they look weird, but they don't look out of place. Same comic, right? 2 different styles. Yeah, I know some people won't read that because it's black and white and no colour.
I like Hell Trackers.
Where it's same comic. Halo Jones was never a fan favourite of mine. Our stories were okay, but they were, to me, they were never over the top good.
Hell Trekkers is by Yossi Ortiz.
Yeah. Do you know what I noticed in one of yours? Harry Harrison. That was that's the big that's the
Bad
thing.
Kitty.
That's a dark kitty. That's what I was going to say. That was I started reading that and I'm sitting there thinking, stainless steel rat.
Exactly. It's Carlos Harrison after Carlos Esquerra and Harry Harrison. I really find names. I find names really tricky. We're doing an upcoming one about a squad of psychic space mercenaries, because I name them to people I used to go to school with, and their nicknames.
Well, that's the thing. But I was reading it and I'm sitting there thinking, this is a stainless steel rat, and that's what I was getting stuck into. And I thought, the bad kitty one, and it was obviously the part where he'd taken the decoy body of his wife, just so he can get a better room.
Yeah, he needed that for a reason, though. He needed the suite
because he couldn't afford any higher, so he thought he would take somebody to kill, for the room to kill.
And I quite like the page with all black panels as well, which is a sort of homage to, I think it was Alpha Flight, where they had about 4 pages which were just white because it was in a snowstorm.
Yeah, I've not actually. I think that's later on, isn't it?
Quite early on.
Is it early on? Did I miss it?
When did you get?
It's just black panels.
Four pages of white panels. I'm sure you probably got paid each page as well.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's because it's in the dark.
I only got to the part where he's just actually described the lucky dog. So as I said, I just started reading it. So he'd actually killed his synthy body with the worms and got upgraded to the room below the lucky dog owner.
Yeah, was it Beetlejuice slime worms or something in the bed?
Yes, he brought the slime worms in and basically said, "Lie down, honey, you should be fine." Well, that's terrible. What can we do? Well, I could grieve in the executive suite, which I thought was No, my wife, I can give me an upgrade to the executive suite and I can grieve in there in peace. And I thought that was just fun. And yes, I can imagine
that is not a remotely serious book. Well, that book is interesting. It's actually another example further on, which you haven't got to, of product placement from something I like. On the back of it, if you look now, there's an advert for a band called Cats in Space, that's them there. And I'm a big fan. Ed's a fan as well, yeah. And the spaceship on the top of that advert is in all of their album covers and their artwork. They do fantastic artwork in the band. And so the bad kitty of the title, his spaceship, is that cat head. And again, I said to them, yeah. If we give you an advert on the back, can we use that in a comic? And they were fine about it. One interesting thing is one of their albums has, if you like, half of it is story of Johnny Rocket, who wants to be an astronaut and finally gets to be an astronaut. But his mission is called off in secret, but the world is allowed to think that it went wrong and they all crashed because they needed some heroes. And so he has to stay out of sight for years until he can go back undercover to meet up with his childhood sweetheart after all these years. And that's the story they did over about 5 songs. And what me and Ed want to do is make it into an issue of Sentinel one day. Yeah. And again, they're fine with that.
The very opposite of Capricorn 1.
Yeah, very, in a way, similar to Capricorn 1 in a way. But I know how it'll go. It'll be one for the future. Maybe not even Sentinel, but it's something me and Ed want to do because the story's already there. The band's happy to do it. Again, it's not about making a lot of money, but it's nice that they appreciate that we only want to do it because we love doing the story. Fantastic band. Cats in Space. Everyone should listen to Cats in Space. Thank you, Wendy.
In all fairness, we've already, a lot of people love a cat in space. Red Dwarf.
Yes, I like to launch mine in space sometimes.
Yeah, I know that. I used to have 2 cats, and sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, I would actually wish I could kick them out the window, which I was 18 up, and let's see if they can float. But they never did.
They live. They always live. They don't have a terminal velocity.
They actually do. It's only the smaller cats that don't. The bigger the cat is, the more the more chance they are. Believe it or not, one of my cats fell out the window, but I was only 8 up, and they said if it was 9 or 7, the cat would have probably survived. But it was just at that point where it was basically it reached terminal velocity, because if it's higher, it would have spread itself out and it would have actually slowed it down. If it was slightly lower, it wouldn't have had reached terminal velocity. But 8, it was just that unfortunate side effect. It hadn't died right out, but accordingly, a fox got it, and I was basically
catapult.
Yeah, I was gutted. For the next 4 months after that, anytime I saw a fox, I actually bought myself a sling. I was 38, and I was walking about with a sling in my pocket. So if I saw a fox, it was getting squinted down because it had actually killed one of my cats. Even though it was probably my fault for leaving one of the windows open and it slipped out. High-rise flats, the windows opened like that. So it'd been walking along and... So my fault. If I'd opened it that way, the cat would have just looked out and went, ain't going near that. But because it was at the slant. So I had to blame myself at the end of it. But my poor cat. I always stretch. I love my cats just as much as I love my dog. I'm an animal guy.
The painting behind me is one cat ago. A friend did a painting of it for me, which is nice.
See, that's really nice.
She's called TC, which stands for the cat, which is why the cat in Bad Kitty is called TC, because my cat was called the cat.
So it's not Top Cat.
If dogs did adopt a cat, they wouldn't bother giving it a name. They'd just call it the cat.
The cat. Well, the Worf actually showed us that. He's just the cat.
Yeah, the cat, TC, the cat.
Yeah. But yeah. So what's your plans going forward? Obviously you've got 8, 9, 10. You've got 8 right now, and 10 is due. The
end of the year, 10 is called Newtopia. And again, it's a case of an artist dictating a story, because the artist said he'd like to do something cyberpunky. Now, I had the germ of an idea that I'd written a few pages for the magazine, the 77, and they didn't even get back to me. They said they wanted something dark and cyberpunk, so I wrote them a short story. They didn't get back to me, and it was just sitting there. And I thought, well, I like that idea. I like this, a great beginning to something. So I took the beginning of that and then spun it out into a whole aliens are living on Earth, and they can give people implants to give them real powers. And it's 2 people that are on the run from the mob because they've got these implants, and the mob want the money for them. And so it's always raining, it's always dark, it takes place over one night, and the whole point is it does go places you wouldn't expect it to go. And the 2 main characters are named after my brother and my sister-in-law, which will make them happy. My brother doesn't read comics, but he loves Sentinel, which is nice. And then in the new year, there's things being worked on, is how it goes. I'm not sure what order we're doing stuff in. Ed's will be working on one I wrote, again, especially for him. Oh, why don't we have dinosaurs and Vikings? It's like, oh, all right. And I looked up dinosaurs and Vikings.
Anything with dinosaurs will be. Do you know what you do? Do a play on the 2000 AD's Flesh. Instead of cowboys going back, Vikings go back.
Vikings. Well, what it is, we've got Vikings on their way to, I think it's Iceland or Norway. Well, no, Iceland, to a colony, because Vikings did have colonies there. And all the ships but one to get lost, and the one ship lands on, the traditional mysterious island. And they're on the island. There are dinosaurs on the island. You think, right, where can we go with this? And I thought, let's do something different. So once they've managed to fight off a velociraptor, they find a watering hole where all the dinosaurs go, because apparently they would go to watering holes. And suddenly aliens appear. Aliens are taking dinosaurs for study in their enormous ship. So what happens next? Well, we got Vikings, we got dinosaurs, we got aliens, and it's called Valhallasaur, which took me ages to think of, and it's a great title.
You need to actually call the land Dogger. You have to, because Dogger used to be a land between Europe and, well, basically between roughly, it covered right up to Scotland, and it covered Norway, so it would have actually been in, because the wrecking people used to walk across Doggerland, and they basically sank. So if there was a bit cloaked in mist, it was just what was left.
Oh yeah, we don't need to tell people where it is. It is just a mysterious island.
It has to be ambiguous because it doesn't even need to be on this.
Yeah, but what I did a lot of research on Vikings, and we got the names are accurate, the weapons will be accurate, the way they look will be accurate, the fact that they would make that journey to those colonies is accurate. So I needed to, for myself, I needed that part not to just be me remembering old Viking movies. So yeah, we're not going to have helmets. Probably no helmets.
And they're not. Are they going a Viking or? That's the thing. Going a Viking. Because they were known as Vikings.
They're going to a colony. Settlers going to a colony.
People automatically refer to them as Vikings, which Viking was just what they did. They don't.
They don't refer to themselves as anything.
But
we just know they are.
That's what I'm saying. It's amazing how it's the same idea. People on TV watch TV and they refer to them as Vikings.
The Viking,
the horn helmet. Whereas when they go a Viking, they're actually just Norsemen. They just refer to them.
They were Irish Vikings as well, weren't they, Ed? They had the horns on the inside.
Mixture, yeah.
That's an old one. That one.
Very old.
I love those Teta jokes I had. Yes, I remember them all. Oh my god, that was.
What else is coming next year then, Ed? What do you think might be done?
Let me see. So, Dark Matter. That's the
mercenaries.
Yeah. Heartbreaks Hotel. Possibly The Pack.
That's Werewolf Squaddies. It's one of our earliest scripts, and we did have an artist working on it, but he just couldn't finish it. It's just so time-consuming, and he's an artist that takes a long time due to being utterly brilliant. I won't mention him; there's no need. But he's a fantastic artist and a lovely guy, but he couldn't finish the book, so it's gone to a new artist, Mac, and his style is working very well from what he's shown me so far. Werewolf Squaddies in the jungle, so in a predator sort of environment, if you like. And what they do is they flush out rebels, and when they go into the rebel compound, they have a special injection in their collars that they can do to turn themselves into werewolves for 10 minutes. By those 10 minutes, they're feral, point them in the right direction with pheromone grenades. They massacre everything in the compound, and then the automatic injection in the collar turns them back into humans again. So, and what happens is the sergeant, in a 1,000,000-to-1 accident, loses his collar. So he's still a werewolf, and the rest have to try and track him down without him massacring. But again, there's more to it than that. My stories are never that simple.
Yeah. Do you know what I remember? It reminds me of. Do you ever read the 2000 AD story? It wasn't the werewolves. It was vampires.
Fiends of the Eastern Front.
I think it was. It was basically they'd opened up. It was meant to be present day. They'd opened up an old bunker from the First World or Second World War. I think it was the First World War, and there was a story, and they were reading the story, and it was telling of these vampires, and they were saying how they got locked in there, and it turns around there's one left, and it's a skeleton sitting in front of them, and it's because they've gone in, it sort of open, and that's how it finished. And I thought that's what, when you were reading that, it reminds me of that sort of thing.
This one was another case of not wanting any plot holes. It's very, very tricky to keep it logical within the story, that we can actually make a thing that turns them into werewolves.
So the thing is, that's a good thing about stories. You can actually, as long as within your, it's the same as movie, TV shows, as long as you stick and contain it within that, it's perfectly reasonable to have weird and wonderful things out there.
It's like with Boss Level. It's a stupid premise which would never happen, but they have a MacGuffin, and as long as you believe in the MacGuffin, you can believe the whole thing will happen. And that's why it works better than Groundhog Day for me, because you have a reason, and that's why I like a lot about it, and a lot more violence, which is fun.
Yes, and the good thing was they didn't explain too much about the MacGuffin. They built this. They don't know how it was causing it. There's only one person that's sort of got an idea how it works, but even she's not entirely sure how to fix it. It's just, it's there, and it's just a case of how to get to there.
Yeah, so that
getting it fixed off was no a major issue. It was how to get there to work it out was the journey, and I loved it.
We've also got one that you might not be too keen on. It's our first sports story. Now, the biggest problem, obviously, it's a sci-fi comic, so I had to make up a future sport.
Jetball from 2000 AD. I loved the
Harlem Heroes. Awesome, yeah.
Heroes. I loved that. And remember the computer game it was out. Oh, what was it called? I actually was playing it. Speedball. Loved that as well.
Speedball 2.
So if it's sports like that, I'm okay.
Well, what it is, it's a cross between sky surfing and hurling. Where you got the stick, where you whack a ball with a stick, very violent game. And it's set in a giant, so if you like, a plexiglass, same sort of size as a Harlem Heroes type thing, with water along the bottom, and everyone flies on a flying sort of a skateboard type thing. A bit bigger than a skate.
Chopper.
So like on a smaller board, and they've got a stick with which to whack the ball. And at each end, here's a scoring tank at the top, which is guarded by a goalie. You can also bounce the ball off pads, that sort of thing. The point is that the boards are controlled with your toes, and the top players actually have operations on their toes to make them more prehensile, to make them able to control it better. And our heroine is a young teenage girl who's known as Monkey, because she's got these weird toes that are naturally like that, and she can control one of these boards like nobody else in the world. And so it's a case of her trying to get noticed by one of the big teams. But it's also about her family. Her mother dies, and she has to be taken over to her uncle, who she's never really spoken to. But she finds out he used to be a player himself until he was injured. So there's all sorts of things. So it's a human drama story with future sports at the centre, if you like. But it is more about the people than the sport.
Yeah. See, I'm okay with magic like that because, as I said, I used to love the Harlem Heroes.
That's definitely the inspiration is Harlem Heroes, but I wanted to call something Monkey Magic. So,
well, as long as he's not born on a hill on the mountain top.
No, you don't get to summon a cloud halfway through the game.
I love Monkey. I was a big Monkey fan. I love it. Just summon the thing. I remember all that. That actually sounds good. I look forward to seeing it. I'm getting an echo from somebody, because I can hear my voice back a split second after I speak.
Probably me.
It's gone now.
Okay. There's another one also that Ed's got, which is called Horror at Hammer House. Obviously, Hammer House of Horror.
And I love classic horror movies. Yes.
Well, this is completely inspired by Ed's love of old Hammer horror movies. I quite like them. I'm not a massive fan. So we needed to work out a way that he could actually draw the original Hammer horror stars and monsters into a comic. And so we got a business retreat in the middle of a made-up Middle European country. And they're at this an old castle, and they're having their sort of, disco, whatever. And one of them's taken her son, who's a 13-year-old boy, and he's just on his phone watching old films on his phone because he had to come with her. The power goes out completely, and his phone is just drained of everything. And then things start happening. Christopher Lee, who plays Dracula?
Christopher Lee. Yeah.
Is it Christopher Lee? Well, Dracula turns up. Van Helsing turns up. The werewolf turns up. Oliver Reed as the werewolf turns up.
Jr.
And so the kid, because he knows all these monsters and watched all these films, he sort of is the boss about how we can try and survive. And when Van Helsing turns up, obviously they've got him as well. And what we find out is back in the capital city, in the big church, the religious leaders have worked out that this thing called the Sentinel has managed to escape, and this is what's causing it, which is underneath where they are. And so whilst they're trying to fight off all the classic Hammer horror monsters, the priests are trying to do their best to squish the thing back into the earth with chanting and sacrifices and stuff.
Sort of a Cabin in the Woods.
I've never seen it.
Cabin in the Woods is like, it takes all the cliche Cabin in the Woods, right, and it actually they do it to prevent the disaster from the old gods, and they make bets on what's going, because they have to sacrifice so many people. The idea behind it is better than the actual movie.
There's a nice part in the comic where Frankenstein comes through the door. Frankenstein's monster comes through the door, and one of the women at the party goes, "It's okay, I've seen this. He just wants to be friends." And she goes up to him, and the kid goes, "No, not in this movie." The movie they made where he was a monster, and he basically squeezes her head in.
Tell me, you're going to have a wee cameo in the background of Abbott and Costello, because they met all the monsters. So they did. They met Invisible Man, the Wolfman.
They're Universal, though. Universal Monsters.
Ah, there you go. You see, we're doing Hammer only. So we've got Oliver Reed's werewolf.
Ah, right.
Yeah, I did go. We got the Brides of Dracula. I think they'll turn up as well. What we want to do is have 3 readers or backers on Kickstarter who can be drawn. One can be killed by Dracula, one can be killed by the Wolfman, and one will be killed by Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster. So they'll be drawn into the comic, which will be good fun as well. But
ideal.
It's a fun. I mean, it's quite sort of violent in the way of old horror movies, but the whole thing's supposed to be just fun and campy, old school horror movie fun.
See, that was the way the classic horrors were. They were suspenseful rather than horror.
Yes,
you had a couple of jump scares and stuff like that. You look at the Boris Karloff's Mummy, it was.
How about the Haunting?
Yeah, the Invisible Man, the classic Invisible Man. It was basically they were more psychological. They weren't horror. They weren't there to scare you. They were made to make you jump, but not to actually terrify you. They used the monsters in a more psychological way. So, like, for instance, you look at the Batman, it was always a case of the eye would go, and it would fly in, and it was never a case of like you see ones now when he's just sitting there and goes, and then just rips and blood and guts. It was never like that with the classic ones. It was more psychological about how it was done. And that's what I liked about the old classic ones. I do like my classic horror and my classic Hammer stuff. Hammer stuff is always great. It was always fun. Even later on, when it actually became a bit more gory, it was still, I wouldn't class it as gore fest, although I do love gore fest movies as well. I love Ash.
It wasn't over the top. It wasn't over the top with
it. It wasn't. It was basically, it was just so well done, and I loved that for that. So,
well, the weird thing is, I'm not a horror fan. I'm sitting there writing horror comics.
Yeah,
maybe that's why mine are a bit different.
See, my horror, I do like horror, but I don't like, see, like Jason and stuff like that and Freddy Krueger, they're not my favourite. If I want to see a gory one, I'll watch Ash v the Evil Dead. I'll watch the Evil Dead 1 and 2 and Army of Darkness.
Those are good.
Because they're campy, fun horror. Or I'll watch a schlock one, like, there is a few out there. It's basically, they're just blood and guts everywhere, but nobody takes it seriously. Remember, you see so I can't watch things like Hostel or Saw. They're just no my type. They're just basically, to me, they are just violent for the sake of violent. There doesn't seem to be any fun in a horror movie. And a horror movie has to have fun, or else it's just weird.
My favourite horror movie is An American Werewolf in London, which is violent, bloody, gory, and funny as hell.
Now, exactly.
What I have to say now that Mr. Doyle up there is for Inktober is doing 31 pictures, one a day in October, and it's all going to be, they're all based on horror movies and TV, that sort of thing. I basically came up with the suggestions for him to draw stuff, and he's doing one a day, and my one is Rick Mail outside the slaughtered lamb having a fag. He was in American Werewolf, and I just like the idea of the image. So some of the images will be standard type things, and others will be a bit off the wall. There's a great one. We've got the alien in Alien, obviously, facing off against Jones the cat, who's having a good old hit at him, that sort of thing. Or the so it always catches me from the Goodies, Kitten Kong instead of King Kong. I thought that'd be more fun. So things like that, but also standards like the Creature from the Black Lagoon, things like that. But they're all this. Ed is a digital artist these days, like so many people, and these are the first time for a long time he's done it in complete pen and ink, no cheating. So he's going to do 31 of those, and those are on his Facebook page. So if you want an original Ed Doyle horror movie thing for 30 quid posted, definitely have a go at that, because there's going to be some good stuff, I think.
Yes, definitely, and definitely need to actually have one with Judge Anderson facing off against Dracula, classic Dracula, or even classic Frankenstein would be funnier, because no brain to actually use a psycho.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm assuming it'll be all on the page.
Have you got it on the Sentinel page, Ed?
No, I haven't done anything on Sentinel regarding the Inktober thing, but I reckon I'll put a post up there. All right,
Yeah, definitely put it on there now or after this. Put the list on. Obviously, people can pre-buy them before they actually get completed in October. So
I'm definitely looking at them. So I'm actually looking at find out if there's one that will actually fit my collection, which is very easy to do. Makes it very easy to do because, as you can see, I like Doctor Who, I like Babylon 5, I like Judge Dredd, I like
Babylon 5. Oh, lovely.
Babylon 5. I love Babylon 5. Jakar, love Jakar and Londo. They're my
Via, your moon-faced assassin of joy. Love it. I'm midway through season 3 at the moment in the rewatch.
Well, after I finish my Judge Dredd next week, I'm doing next Wednesday's going to be my Judge Dredd stream. I'm hoping the rabbi from another planet said he would come on, depending on holidays, because obviously the Jewish holidays I need to let him know what day when it's going to be, and I'm hoping it's next Wednesday. And I've got a couple other guys coming on, and we're just going to talk Judge Dredd, Dredd 3D. We're going to talk comic books. We're going to talk like Judge Minty. We're just going to talk Judge Dredd in general.
There's a lot of Dredd to talk about.
Oh, aye. And I've even got my...
Oh, yeah. Land Raider.
The Land Raider from Cursed
Not
Earth.
an official time product, weirdly enough. That was very odd. Why was it not an official Dredd product?
Yeah.
It's mentioned at 2000. Basically, that's it. There's no AD on it, because it just says 2000 there. No 2000 AD. But yeah, as soon as I saw that, I had to pick it up because I do love my Judge Dredd stuff. And I've got the Cursed Earth book. I've got the Cursed Earth story within the complete sets. And I've got other bits and bobs. I even got a Judge Dredd Funko, which I took out. I took out and drew on it. I took out and drew on it because it had no face, so I just gave it a frown. So I did. I had to have it because I Judge Dredd without a mush. It just basically had to have a wee frown.
I have PJ. I have the comic. There you go, Judge Dredd.
I have not even seen that one.
Those are not good comics, though.
That is superb.
Yeah, IDW are not great with Judge Dredd, but this is funny.
See, I need to actually check that one out because I need to actually have a look for that one. Is that the thing with judges as well? No, isn't it? So I thought it was the judge with the horn. It was the Judah. I thought that's the Judah. It's a Minotaur. I thought it was a Judah. So I did when I just saw the horn. I thought it was a helmet with it.
There's one as well.
See, that's a cool one. Got one
that's
here.
Stephen Austin's tribute to Carlos Esquerra.
Very nice.
Yeah,
that was the one I bought, and it was meant to be a comic book framed, and it turned out it was just a picture of the comic book framed. Oh, yeah. Still nice, but it wasn't as good a deal as I thought I got. But when I went back and checked the thing, he just sort of implied it was the comic book, but he did mention a picture of the comic book. So the picture it was just sort of mentioned once, which it's my fault for not reading it properly. I've fallen into that trap once or twice, but I do have. I've got bits and bobs, so I don't know if you could see. There he's come. I had to do it because without a frown, it just didn't look right.
Definitely better.
I got some nice wee bits and pieces. I got a T-shirt that I designed at the Comic-Con. Well, I got a T-shirt that the guy had designed, and he'd actually made a couple up for me. He actually made the picture. Oh. Sorry, nearly hit myself with my day stick. I've got that in a T-shirt as well. And I think that's just cool because I got that in a T-shirt as well. And he'd originally done them as artwork, and I had asked him if he did them in T-shirts, and he says, "Oh, I don't know," and he did them in T-shirts, and I got one. They're just so cool. They're just perfect. But as I said, I'm a classic judge. Yes, I know it gave my name away, but if anybody follows me on Facebook, it's basically or any of the YouTube things that I post it from Facebook, and it gives my name anyway. I'm not scared of cat, but I need to actually look out for that Funko Dread comic. That just looks so cool.
That's a piece of original pencil art from Tom Foster.
Wow, I've met Tom. Did Tom? Tom did. I think it's Tom that did this. I think it's Tom that did this for me.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
So it's because I'm sure I met him at Comic-Con and we were talking, and I asked, and he says, So he just took a picture, and I said to him, next time I come in, I'm just going to get him just to take the bog standard picture, but ignore everything from above the nose and put a dread helmet on me. But Comic-Cons are... Anytime I've been to a Comic-Con, he's not been there because he's been working. And then when he's not been working, there's no Comic-Cons on because... But yeah, that was Tom. That's...
PJ, did you get this?
Oh, yeah.
That's the Crackpot ones. I've seen them, but I've not actually looked too much into them. Just for the simple fact is, I'm always busy. See, my work's going through a merger, and I'm literally up until the 28th of September. That's when mergers should be completely through. Do you know what it reminds me of? We were actually talking about it today. It reminds me of the old classics, Beano, Dandy, stuff like that. Yeah, I saw the pictures of it on yours, and it's just what it reminded me of, because I was talking to my wife about it today, and that's what it was. Just reminds me of the old classic comics, and that's what I have seen the pictures of it, but I've not had a chance to look too much. And hence the reason why it took me such a long time to get through it, because as I keep on saying to people, I give myself homework for my streams, and that's the only way I can get through things. Because when I finish work, although I can work 24/7 sometimes, depending, I need to actually have things listed that I'm going to do, or else I just don't get around to it, because emails pop up and I have to deal with them, and it's just globally I need to deal with, so I could be working different times. But after the end of September, things should quiet down, because we'll be fully merged, and all my IT duties will be handed off to somebody, and then they'll just be handing them jobs to me rather than actually me controlling the whole system, because I deal with the whole one. See, your cat looks better than my beard.
Yeah.
I'm Catman.
Aye, I'm Catman. I've got my two dogs. Did you see it in my Twitter?
Nope. Oh, there's a Jack Russell downstairs.
Nope. I better turn the sound off first. Right, there's my two dogs doing their Batman. I can't actually, because when I put it up on YouTube, I got a strike because the music, it's to the classic 70s. It's to the classic 70s.
Oh, that, yeah.
It's a classic 66 Batman tune. With the I'm Batman, just sort of. So that's my two with their Batman jumpers on.
That's cute.
So
love it.
Basically, I do like my dogs dressed up. I've got one of them has actually got a Star Trek red outfit. My niece. Well, I want to get the. You can get the Ahura one. You can get the gold and the blue. They're about £35-40 each for a jumper for the dog. My sister's got my two dogs, mum and dad. so I want to get all 4 of them an outfit. So I want to have one in blue, one in red, one in gold, and one as Ahura. So Bella and Ahura. But it's going to cost me over 120 quid just to get 3 outfits, so it's not a priority. Although I want them, but it's not a priority. It's just so I can get a picture of the 4 dogs dressed as a landing party. You're not spending that money. Which can't hang me, but as I said, at the end of the month, my calendar should clear up immensely. So that's why I'm saying at the end of the month, I'm going to actually be updating my comics. So, and I'll be placing the order in for 8.99, and I'll pre-order the 10 for when that comes out. And I'll be looking at the pictures, so make sure there's a link on the webpage so I can find.
Just message me. I can sort it out.
Yep, and I might have an idea of a comic monster I'm looking for, because I need to actually double check if it's drawable. Because it's like let's put it this way: my favorite horror movie is one that I grew up watching. Them, the Giant Ants. Do you remember? Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Did you see the bit when they're on the ship and the ant comes crashing through and grabs a guy and drags him out? You imagine that ugly mug on it? I'm that guy.
Yeah, I can do
Basically, Them is my favourite movie. It is my favourite go-to movie. I grew up, I was terrified of it when I was a kid, and I grew up and love it now. I watch it very regularly. I've even done a review of it. I love it that much. And that picture, that bit where the ant comes crashing through, pinches the guy and drags him out, always stuck with me. It is just a very, considering it was done practical effects, it's just so well done. And that one, it stuck with me for years. Anytime somebody mentioned ants, that was always the picture I had in my mind. And yeah, I would love to see a picture of that, so I might actually commission one. No me getting dragged off with a giant ant. But yeah, I will drop you a message. I'm literally looking for that, because as I said, I'll be clearing up my space and I can actually read my comics, because I've actually got 4 other books still to read. I need to start reading my Wheel of Time, because with Amazon bringing out this Wheel of Time, I want to reread my books, because I think they're going to kill it, considering it's a very feminist, not feminist book. It's a very matriarchal book series, the Wheel of Time. And I think Amazon is going to kill it, because they're going to make it feminist rather than matriarchal.
No doubt.
And I'm going to start my books again. I'm at the moment, I'm reading, see, when I say reading, I'm in audiobooks.
Me too.
The only things that I don't do audible are comics, and I've got a good few comics I need to catch up on. I've still got another 4 there. I've got the one Twisted Light I was telling you about. His other books were Twisted Dark, and he had a number of them, and he did one called Twisted Light. I want to reread that when I've talked about it.
I'm currently listening to the new Stephen King, Billy Summers. That's good.
I've got one called Scooby Apocalypse.
I've heard of that.
It's an updated version of Scooby-Doo, and it looks so cool. But it's a DC comic one, and it's very updated. Look at Shaggy's beard. Almost makes mine look tidy. This is just such a tidy beard considering that's Shaggy. No, that's no Shaggy. His beard's too tidy.
Keith Giffen, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, that just looks like me. So I'm looking forward to reading that. So, and I've had that for a while. I've just not had a chance to get around to it. And the other 2 I want to reread are Escape from, what's it called? Where is it? Escape from Coat Bridge.
Nope.
It's basically, it's an independent comic from a Scottish writer. He's only done 2 of the 3 so far. I'm still waiting for book 3, and I even checked his webpage, and he's only got the 2 up. But because the Comic-Con stopped, he never printed any until he can get back on the comic book circuit again. What's his name?
You're not
a great
thinking
one.
of Kickstarter on it.
Gavin Boyle, Rapid Comics. But I just love it because book 1 has got Rab C. Nesbitt with a gun. That's what got me into it. Rab C. Nesbitt with a gun. Escape from Coatbridge. So I read the first one, I went back, got the second one, and then when I went back, he wasn't there, and he stopped printing them because he couldn't get access to Comic-Cons. I don't know what happened the year before the pandemic shut them all down, but I'm so waiting to see that third book.
As I said, you should have went on Kickstarter. Probably do it on Kickstarter, you know?
I think he should have done it, at least get the 3 books out, because but he's still, I think he was publishing them himself, and he was making them basically writing, drawing, and getting them published himself. So, and I think it was before Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all that were a big thing. So, and it's been at least 3 years since I got the last book, and I can't wait, because I didn't read the second book because I thought I had to read the first book again because I completely forgot the story. So I thought I might as well wait until I get the third book and then read 3 of them together. Not fun when the third book doesn't come out. Bummer, but that's why I'm glad I've got Sentinel Comics, because each one, the good thing, that's another good thing. One thing I was going to ask when I first got them, why they're not numbered. I can't actually, how am I know what one I'm meant to read in order? Then I realised it didn't matter. It doesn't matter because they're not a follow-up, as it's not like a monthly story, which is perfect.
Yeah, that was very important.
Which is perfect because you don't want something that you just read and where's the next one? It could be a couple of months. And that's like what storybooks like that. And you think about it, anything could have happened, like a pandemic, which puts a delay on, and then suddenly you stop. You've got a 2, 3, 4 month extra added onto it to get that next part of the story out. And that's when people go, well, I've stopped reading it, so it's not a major issue. Whereas individual books, they can go, no problem, I can just pick up these ones.
Yeah, it's very, very, very deliberate.
Yeah, which is ideal, because I must admit, the first thing I thought was, how am I meant to know what order I'm meant to read these in? And then I realised it didn't make a difference.
They're numbered on the inside, PJ. But
yes, I noticed that. I did notice that.
Yeah, it's just the reason why they were not numbered on the cover is that you can just buy one issue if you want, or all of them if you want. It's up to yourself, you know, whatever takes you.
Also, you don't, if you see it somewhere and you see issue 3, you might go, I don't want that because I haven't read issue 1 and 2. But if you just see it somewhere and it just says, special delivery or whatever, then you're more likely to pick it up, have a flick through, and then realize it's a complete story.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I love the fact that I could pick them up in any order. So I picked it up. Like the first 3 I read, the first 4 I read, were ones that had your cover art on. So basically, because I was obviously meeting you for the first time, and I thought it would be better actually looking at the ones where you've done the story inside as well as the cover art. And
that's what we wanted to do for the to try to get the artist involved, the interior artist, to do the actual cover as well. Yeah, and then for the variant covers, that was just another option for people. They wanted to choose a variant cover, they could,
And I must admit, I liked that because I must admit, some of the variant covers, I actually prefer the covers I've got. And I think if I'd got the variant cover and I saw that one, I thought, I wish I'd got that one instead. And it is ideal that you can go, well, why can't I? Just for the artwork, even if it's a case of it's just for the artwork, because then you've got your 2 comics, you've got the one you want, and as you said, there's some artwork in the book.
Hi, Wendy.
I've been known to sort of cannibalize books if I want some artwork in them. I'm terrible.
Yeah, we print 100 variant copies basically, and they will never be reprinted.
No.
good to know. So I need to actually make sure I've got the variant ones I want. So I better do that next. It'll definitely be. I'll get my bonus in October, so I'll have a wee bit extra cash. So it'll be October.
Yeah, well, for example, issue 1, we got Stephen Austin from 2000 AD to do it, and that's gone. That's all gone now. That'll never come back again.
Well,
bummer. That's what I get.
Nice cover too.
Yeah, let me just show you the variant covers, PJ.
Aye.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, do you know the only comic I've got with variant covers? Judge Dredd.
Ha.
That was issue 1. That's Steve Austin's variant.
Yeah,
very nice.
That was the one I'd seen.
That's the variant for Scales of Justice.
See, I think the Scales of Justice. I like the Scales of Justice one I've got. I saw that one, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes the variant covers, I'm sitting there thinking that's really nice, but no, I like that one.
That's Andy
and
Lambert.
I must admit, I do. I think the variant cover for Scales of Justice. I think it's because it's one of the ones I love. I think I like that picture. I think that picture just sort of summed it up a bit better. Whereas, yes, that Gladiator one is probably better for the story, but I love that picture. It's just
that's Neil Sims.
Yeah, that was the one I was looking at, and it's just that just looks absolutely scary as hell.
That's the Mark Montague.
I saw that at the back of one, and I thought, "Wow, that is very Conan."
Yeah, very nice.
Yes, I do love that one.
And we have Mal Earle's Cats in Space variant cover for Kitty.
Special with the ship in prominence.
Yeah.
I actually like that one. I definitely like that one better. I think actually that pops that picture.
Yeah, it's a very nice cover.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I think that one pops. It's got even that 3D type. It just sort of pops.
And the latest issue's been sent out today.
That was.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Aye.
Hunt Emerson. I'm a fan of Hunt Emerson, so it was great to get him to do it. And he put Firkin the cat in the back seat.
See that I like that one, but I like the one with the spaceship on it. They're just sort of prominent out. See, I like that one as well. That is just a cool one.
Yeah, that was nice to have one of my own art heroes do a cover for my comic.
Oh, aye. Yeah, definitely. It's because there's been a couple, like for instance, the one I got done of me, 2000 AD artist drawing a picture of me. Yeehaw, no problem. Hold me back.
Yeah, Cliff Robinson's good for those.
You've got a picture. You can take a picture of yourself any time and just do it in the computer, and it makes it into a pencil drawing. Aye, but it's not the guy that did 2000 AD.
Oh yeah, big difference.
It is a big difference. You know what I mean? But so we're looking forward to it, and the guys remember the Sentinel Comics information will be in the link. Links in the description. And remember, I'm still doing a giveaway, and it'll be drawn in 2 days' time. A DVD copy of Talons of Wen Chiang, and all you need to do is put a comment in and hashtag Talons. I've only got one person in it, the draw at the moment. So unless anybody else joins, one person's getting it. It's going to be a dead easy competition. E, B, C, D, I, it's that person. So just be aware. It's open to all, as I've said to a couple of the guys that are actually do my Saturday streams. If anybody wants to join, I don't care if they're actually on the panel or not. Anybody's one. I'm one of those ones because my dad used to run a club, and if I got a raffle ticket and mine's won, if he decided that we didn't really make enough money, we'll put that in for next week's one, he would take it back off me. I paid for that, but it made no difference when I was running it. So, and he did that. I remember I was a kid. The first thing I won was a mitre football. A mitre. Wow. My dad said, nope, needs to go back in. We didn't make enough. So since then, anytime I'm in charge of anything, I don't care if it's the guy that's running it. If his number comes out, he gets it. If you put your name in, you've got as much chance as anybody. And I'm very fair at it. The only thing is, I know I'll not put my name in. Because if I took my name out, it'd look a bit dodgy, but I don't mind. Anybody can enter it, and it was my 100 subscribers giveaway. Seems I hit 100. Yay! 100 people willing to listen to me. I can't do that in my family, and I've got a big family. Most of them actually I actively don't listen to me. But guys, thank you very much for coming, and I'm hoping the next ones that are out, maybe at the end of the year when you've got your 10 out, you can come back and we could talk the next.
Yeah, beginning of next year be good.
Yes, definitely. Look forward to it. I'm always here. Unless I kick a bucket, I'm an old man accordingly.
I'm Scottish.
I'm going to live forever. Bugger it.
The Scottish superhero is Battered Man.
Aye. Hootsman.
I get all my Scottish from John Wagner's comic strips.
Yes, well, Super Gran.
Hang about. Look out for Super Gran.
Molly Weir, the great Tom Weir's sister. Tom Weir used to do Weir's Way, the Walk. He was him and Molly Weir, sister and brother.
Super Gran does hold the title of possibly the worst ever licensed computer game of that time.
I know. There was some really bad
ones. Ducky was pretty bad too.
Oh God, I saw that one. I remember that one as well. My favourite, believe it or not, whose stream was I watching? Porter Blackgarrett's stream the other night, and somebody had recommended they tried the Judge Dredd game, the classic one.
On the Spectrum.
Not that far back, but it was on stream now. It is the one. It was an early Doom type, and you could see it's got the Doom. Yeah. It's almost like the platform because it's still got the grainy look about it. But I remember playing that, and I used to love it. But it was one of these ones that it didn't always tell you what was happening, and you just had to work it yourself. Go around and shooting people just to see who you were meant to arrest. You have to arrest or kill 19 perps. You're at 17. But I've been around the whole bloody place. I can't find another place. Where are the other two? So you get up to people and shooting at them to see if they'll actually draw a gun on you. No, it's not the way to do it as a judge and stuff like that. So yeah, he was watching that and I was playing that and I thought, I love that. And I love classic stuff. And I must admit, I love the books because they do remind me of a lot of classic artwork and a classic comics. And as I said, I love Starblazer, and that fits the niche. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us. And we will see you again in the beginning of the new year when I've got the other three and I've got managed to read them.
Cool. Thank you very much.
I'll be looking at you for artwork, and I'll speak to you later on to get you to send me the links so I can put in the description for the Kickstarter. We've got your Facebook page, but any other link, even your XD link, anything it can put out there for guys to go and see.
Okie dokie.
Thank you. And remember, ladies and gents, I'm not old. I'm classic. PG maybe out. Bye, guys.
Arrivederci.